Okay, Friday live stream time. So I really hadn't planned on doing another WordPress AI news and updates stream, but a whole bunch of stuff just got posted and launched and released and published and shared. Hey AJ, um, over the last sort of week and a bit, um, and there's just too much fun stuff to not get into. So I've made a list. I've checked it twice. That was a dumb joke. Um, and we're going to go through it. A couple of news updates, a couple of things to be aware of, a couple of discussion items, and then a couple of things that I want to dive into. So we'll hopefully do some live testing of some things and some checking out of some things. So let's get into it. The first thing that I want to share is that there is a proposal to merge the WordPress AI client into WordPress 7.0. So the core AI team have been developing the AI client for a while now. I actually have been experimenting with the AI client for a bit, and I think it's pretty cool what it's done. It's been around since before WordCamp US, November last year. Felix posted the very first version of this. I think it was even around before that. I think he might have had it on his GitHub first, if I'm not mistaken. He was busy with AI services. Just see. Yeah, he did the chatbot demo in September. So back then, the PHP AI client was already a thing. The PHP AI client has been around since August, so halfway through the year. In fact, when the core AI team launched, the PHP AI client was already a thing. And so this is now like older than 6 months. But essentially what this does is this allows you to add AI functionality inside your WordPress site. I actually have this set up. I have two plugins that I developed. One is an AI client demo, which you can find under my GitHub. It's just called WP AI Client Demo. And what it does is it creates this little AI client demo form. It's just a simple title and prompt. You'll notice the little ready notice will get updated soon. If it's all working, it should. There we go. So it uses some AI generation to create that message. That message is different every time. The reason that's so slow, just as an aside, is that I'm using another plugin that I developed called WP Local Model Provider that supplies local AI model support through Llama. So this basically extends the AI client and creates an Llama provider and allows you to then use local models through Llama. So if you go to the local AI models menu, you can select, I've got these models installed locally. I'm using Kimi Cloud through Llama just for testing. So that's why it's a little bit slow, because it actually has to make a cloud request. But I can use any one of these local models to do it, and then it's a lot faster. These are the models that I was testing in the benchmark live stream a couple of weeks ago. And so essentially what I can do is I can create a post. So let's say a sonnet about WordPress, and then let's say hark WordPress, something like that. And so what that'll do is it'll take the prompt and it'll pass it off to the local model, and it'll generate the sonnet, and then it'll return it back. If the model supports image generation, it'll generate an image as well, which I don't think Kimi does. But if you use like Gemini or Anthropic, one of those, OpenAI, then it'll work. And this does take a little bit of a while, so I want to update this to show some kind of better loading message, something, you know, maybe cycle through a few messages. But it should finish. So let's just wait and see. Yeah, there we go. Post generation completed. So I'm using AI within WordPress. It looks like it didn't actually create that post. Let's just do a quick search here. Could have timed out. Yeah, it might have timed out. Anyway, let's do another. Let's do a different local model a bit quicker. Let's do something like Quen. Okay. Let's go a WordPress hiker because that'll be great. Okay, that should work. Okay, there's the generate post. Just check for any errors. This was working the last time I checked it, so it's possible it's asking too much of it. Okay, looks like that worked. Nothing in the console. So let's go over to the posts. There we go. There's my post. And there's my haiku. As you can see, it's pretty slow on the local models. It's a lot faster if you use like OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever, or other local models. But it works. So anyway, so getting back to why we're here in the first place. So the proposal is to merge the core of the WP AI client without shipping any AI providers or automatically enabling AI calls. So this is just the core foundational. Hey, Carolina. This is just the core foundational functionality. And developers will then be able to install, or site owners at least will be able to install plugins to enable usage of specific providers built on top of this foundation. So as a plugin developer, you will just say which provider you're using. You'll probably have to provide some way for people to use that provider, or whatever the case is. So the scope is the PHP API and the prompt builder, provider model abstraction, discoverability, WordPress, HTTP integration, credentials management, so you can add credentials. Okay, that's cool. And anyway, so there we go. So there's the post. There's a track ticket. They're looking for feedback. Some folks have commented on the post itself. I'm sure a bunch of folks have commented on the track ticket as well. So they're trying to get this in for WordPress 7.0. I don't know whether it'll make it. Because I think the beta 1 deadline is like sometime in February, because they want to launch in April, so might be a bit close. But anyway, it's coming. If it doesn't get to 7.0, good chance it'll come to 7.1. So yeah, that's that. Okay, that one out of the way. The next one is that there's this new AI Leaders Micro-Credential that's been launched. Now, the program is called AI Leaders. It's at the University of Illinois, Chicago. It starts in March. And essentially the goal is to given priority to let's just read this all about. So you learn AI, you learn WordPress, earn a living wage jobs. Okay. So it's obviously combining WordPress and AI in some way. There's an AI literacy session. There's a WordPress credential, a WordPress job placement. So I'm guessing the goal is to use AI to build WordPress sites. Maybe. The people who are advising this is Mary Hubbard, Executive Director from WordPress. Blake, I'm going to try and pronounce Blake's surname correctly. Bertucelli booth. I've definitely seen Blake around in the WordPress space. He founded something called Equalify, which is a web accessibility platform maintained by the University of Chicago. Blake knows his stuff. I highly respect Blake, so I think that's a good thing. And then someone called Stefan Pasternak. I've never met Stefan. I don't know Stefan. I've never interacted with him. Let's have a look at who he is. Okay, so it looks like he's working in higher education. He seems to know his stuff. So a couple of people that I respect. One guy I've never heard of, but that's probably just because I'm not in Chicago. And so let's see what a remote workforce process in March will help you earn a WordPress micro-credential and compete for living wage WordPress job placement. So this is the first time that WordPress and sort of universities have started collaborating. The program is funded through UIC Tech Solutions Open Source Fund with support from University of Illinois Chicago and Automatic. There was actually a post on the Automatic site recently about Automatic investing in this project. And essentially, the way I understand it is Automatic is investing into this through the foundation. And I happen, the WordPress Foundation, as I understand it, was always kind of aimed at around education and WordPress education. So this kind of all makes sense and ties in together there. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see this kind of thing happening. I have, for the longest time, said that I like the idea of the companies behind open source software supporting the certifications within that software. And I use the PHP certification exam as a good example of that. So Zend, the company founded by Ziv Zarusky and Andy Gutmans, the guys who sort of built PHP 4, I think it was. They took it over essentially from the original founder. That company used to run the PHP credential. And it was kind of cool because they also used to have Zend server. They had Zend was a framework. There was a code editor. They were kind of like the company behind PHP before Laravel took off and all that kind of thing. So I am quite pleased to see this happening. What I would like to see is more companies that are using WordPress on an enterprise scale. So companies like Human Made, what's the other big agency? 10up, companies like that getting involved in these kind of things, because it's a cool way, I think, to support sort of WordPress literacy, AI literacy, development literacy, and then help folks find jobs, because I'm going to assume that somebody who goes through this program could possibly apply for a job at one of those companies. So yeah, I think this is pretty cool. And it's nice to see it sort of be related to AI. So that's how it gets to be on my stream. Okay. So that's that. Then there was another post that I saw and sort of got to my desk one morning. And I was like, okay, finally this is happening. That's not the window that I want. WordPress now has a sort of a first version of a set of AI guidelines for WordPress. So the goal here is, if you are wanting to contribute to WordPress and you want to use AI to support writing code, writing tests, writing documentation, these are the guidelines that WordPress, the core AI team, sort of recommend. So the guidelines are intended to be practical and lightweight. They don't ban AI tooling, but they do set clear expectations for quality, licensing, and transparency. I will share all these links in the chat in a second. In fact, let me share the ones that I've done so far, so that if you want to bail early, you can do. So let me pop. Can't copy. Let me stick this one in the chat window. So there's that one. Carolina says, yeah, I need to catch up with several of these posts. That's why I do these streams, if I'm honest. Because that gives me time, dedicated time to catch up with these things, because I can't. There's so much going on at the moment. in WordPress land that I can't keep up with all the updates. So I do the streams mostly to kind of try out the new stuff. It forces me to play with these things. Okay, so at a high level, the guidelines talk about you are responsible for your contributions, which means what AI writes, you're responsible for. So if you implement nonsense, you're responsible for it. You're supposed to disclose meaningful AI assistance. Contributions must remain compatible with GPL version 2 or later. Non-code assets count 2. And we're looking for quality over volume. And this is important. I think this is super important. Avoid low signal, unverified AI slop. Reviewers may close or reject work that doesn't meet the bar. I think that is so important to say out loud. If you want to contribute to WordPress, and I've seen this on lesson content that I've worked on. People will run something through an AI. I saw it the other day. There was a lesson that I'd worked on a while back. I don't want to name anybody. I don't want to mention the lesson. But I worked on this lesson and it was a specific target focus. And somebody submitted an issue and then followed it up by a pull request, which I'm convinced was AI generated, because the addition completely missed the point of the content of the lesson. So it was just basing it on the title and didn't add any value, but had like a whole explanation of why and lists of reasons. Like, AI tends to go overboard and you can kind of start spotting it. And so I had to now take the time to go and read the comments, review the PR, close the PR, close the comment on the comment, say, this doesn't make any point. So I'm glad to see that quality over volume is in the guidelines. Essentially, reviewers, you are allowed to close or reject work that doesn't meet the bar. So if you see it and it looks like nonsense, just close it. Just say, no, it's okay. Don't feel like you have to spend time reviewing AI slop. Cool. I'm not going to dive too much further into the guidelines. There's some good discussion on the guidelines. James did say these guidelines are open for evolution. So if folks have questions, comments, whatever, please do so. There is a handbook page that now exists, which is in the Core AI team's handbook called AI Guidelines, so you can go check that out. There is also, this is all linked to from the post, there is also a core program issue which you can open. And so feedback and iterations can happen here. So if you have any other comments, you can. You see Victor Stack/AI has already responded. His comment might get ignored if he is an AI bot. This account represents the creator of the AI agent. You can explore the creator's work at Victor Jimenez Dev. So there's an AI already responding to the AI guidelines. That's hilarious. Anyway, so if you want to get involved in that conversation, there are all the links to go and check that out. Okay. I need some water after that. I find myself incredibly thirsty today, so I'm going to fill up my water. In case you're wondering, I don't have access to drinking water in my office space, so I use bottled water, assuming. Okay. Let's close that down. Let's close that down. Let's close that down. Alrighty. The next thing I want to dive into. So now we've kind of covered the news portion of this stream. I'm now going to dive into two other updates that are more sort of checking things out. And the first big one is that WordPress now has something called agent skills. So I haven't dived into agent skills as yet. My understanding is that it's a way to provide skills to an agent, as the name says. And the WordPress project now has an agent skills repository. It basically teaches AI coding assistants how to build WordPress the right way. So our portable bundles of instructions, checklists, and scripts that help AI assistants to understand WordPress development patterns, avoid common mistakes, and follow best practices. The skills were generated using GPT 5.2 codecs from official Gutenberg and WordPress documentation, then reviewed and edited by WordPress contributors. We tested skills with AI assistants and iterated based on results. This is version 1, and skills will improve as the community uses them and contributes fixes. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of skills. There's a WordPress router skill, which classify WordPress repos and routes to the right workflow. Project triage, block development, interesting. Theme development, plugin development, REST API, interactivity API, abilities API, WP CLI and ops, fun. WP performance, PHP stand, like. Playground for instant local environments, and that's what this post is all about. There's a new AI agent skill for WordPress around Playground. In fact, let me share the repo as well in the chat. Okay, and then WordPress design system. So there's instructions here for Claude Code. I want to see agent skills. I want to see if Copilot supports. Yes, looks like Copilot also supports agent skills. So I use both Claude Code and Copilot depending on how I'm feeling that day. So I just want to see. So you got project skills there, and there. Okay, let's see what Claude says. So clone the repository, build the distribution, install all the skills globally, or install specific skills only. So this is for Claude Code. This installs skills to Claude skills. Okay. Personal skills, Copilot skills, or Claude skills. Oh, looks like it'll actually just work if I do that. That's kind of cool. This also shows you that GitHub Copilot is a little bit behind Claude. Claude releases something, Copilot picks it up, and then supports backward compatibility with Claude. It's interesting. You can also install it into your repository. Oh, there's actually different targets as well. Interesting. It'll create. Oh, cool! It'll actually create it in your repo. That's kind of cool. It'll actually create folders in your repository for whichever service you're using. I like that. Okay, and then how do you use them? So create, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's basically just markdown files. And then I guess you just use them in your coding. So I guess the question is, does installing these skills mean you have a better agent skills versus custom instructions? Agent skills teach specialized capabilities and workflows. Work across different platforms, instruction scripts, examples, and resources. Task specific, loaded on demand. And there's an open standard for it. So you now have agent skills, you have custom agents that you can create, and you have instructions. Interesting. How to test which is better? I guess I'm not going to figure out how to test it today. So I think what I'm going to do is just install it and see what we end up with. Okay. So I've got my WordPress site open here. I have a couple of plugins I'm busy working on. One of which is actually this local model provider. I'm trying to did you see something? No, what I'm trying to do with this thing is I'm trying to just open up repository. I'm trying to get this thing to switch to use both local and cloud-based Alarma models, because with Alarma you can support cloud-based with an API access key, which it looks like there's an update to Alarma. Let me do that. So I've been having a bit of trouble with it because I got Copilot to work on it, and it kind of got some of the way there, but then it had some issues, and then I created another branch. Which it doesn't look like I've pushed. That sucks. Okay, well, maybe we can try and use the skills to fix the problem. Let's see. Okay. Let us install this. So we clone. Open a new tab. I stick everything in my development projects folder. Okay. Node, shared scripts, blah, blah, blah. Come on, guys. You could have done like an npm install, npm build vibe. I suppose that would require WP scripts. Okay, that's built. Oh, there we go. So it builds all of that for us. Okay. Okay, so let's use this last repo line. And let's do that. And then we just widen this a little bit. So let's get the directory. Could just go /studio. That one, that one. Just makes it a little bit easier to read. There. Local model provider. And then targets. VS Code, what are those? Let's just see the. Okay. So I don't need codecs because I don't use codecs. So let's just go VS Code and Claude because those are the only two that I use. VS Code and Claude. Okay. So now, if I go into that directory, let's just PHP Storm tends to not pick up. Oh, it's probably hidden. GitHub skills, Claude skills. Let's have a look. Where did that go? Did it install this damn thing? Where'd it go? I wonder if I need to do the full path. Maybe. So that was users, Jonathan Buster. Let's try that. Projects. Oh, look, there's a little tilde there. the hell is that? What did that do? Why is that there? No, man. That's completely done wrong. That's what it's done. It's created it there. Why has it done that? Stupid thing. Destination, your WP project. Okay. Let's try the full path this time. Guessing that was the problem. It couldn't resolve the path. So it is users, John Buster, users, Jonathan Buster. Yes, no? Okay, it looks like it hasn't done anything right there. Okay, here we go. Right, we have skills. Excellent. Just make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so there's all the skills, there's WordPress router, there's the skill.md. So theoretically that should mean that Copilot, GitHub, whatever can write my code better for me. Why does Copilot want to use my confidential information? Why did it ask me that? Oh, I'm not logged in. That might be why. Okay. Could have sworn I had logged into GitHub with Copilot on my computer, but I guess not. Okay, cool, whatever. Right, let's just fix this. Copilot again. Why is it asking? I wonder if that's because of the... wait. Probably because of the login thing. Okay. Yes, trust this folder. All right. So, skills. Hey, bunch of skills. Cool. Okay, so that installed fine. I don't know if it's going to make it better, but let's see. So the problem that I'm having at the moment is, let's go back to the site. So the last time I tried this, it didn't fix it the first time around. Basically what's happening is when you go to the local models, oh, I'm in the wrong branch, damn it. Okay. Okay. So what happens, you go to the settings. You see it detects my local models, fine. I switch to cloud. It asks for the API key, fine. I'm going to open up a llama on a separate window so that I can get my key, because I don't want you bum stealing it. No, where do I get that? Ah, here we go. My key in. Save the settings. Okay. Then it shows the local models again. So if I go back to local models, there, still the local models. Switch to localhost, still the local models. Switch back to cloud, key is there, cannot collect a llama. Please ensure it's running. Okay, let's make sure llama's running. Llama's running. So, still not showing the right stuff. So let's see if we can get Copilot to fix this. View the settings page. Check if it works correctly. When selecting cloud, entering the API key. Maybe I haven't done the key properly, so let me try it. Yeah, still only shows the and saving. Model list still only shows the local models. Okay, let's see if having WordPress skills can fix this, because I've been struggling to get this fixed. Now, does it use the skills by default? What does the repo say? List skills, dry run, install a specific skill. So it reads the skills and follows them. So it should just work. Okay, so it's finding a cache transient issue. I might test this on my workstation tomorrow and see if it fixes it on there using the same setup. If it does, then who knows? Test ran successfully. There are no test files. Yeah, okay, we'll leave it test. Why not? Okay, let's see if it fixed the problem. Okay, still showing local models. Anyway, still showing local models. Nope, this ain't working. Let's try switching back to local. Okay, save. Okay, cloud. Cannot connect to a llama. Please ensure it is running. Fail! Skills didn't help there. No, I don't know whether I'm like allowing skills to help me there or not. I need to run some tests. I don't know how to run some tests. Test whether skills are better or worse. I guess what you need to do is do the same prompt with the same model one with skills, one without, see what it creates. So I'm going to have to test that at some point in the next week or so. Don't know when I'm going to have time for that. But I do have a laptop and a workstation that I can test it on. Probably should use Copilot on both, because then it'll use whatever Copilot model suggests, not a local model. Probably should check which models are being used and then see from there. Okay, so that's that. Check it out, see if it helps you. I don't know, it doesn't seem to be helping me yet, but it's there, it's usable. Cool. So that is that. What I would like to do is see how, when it creates a block, what it does, because in the past I've had issues with block generation not following block generation sort of patterns. So that's something I might want to try. But it didn't help for what I was busy working with, which, granted, the code is pretty new, so there's probably some deeper bug somewhere I couldn't bother to tell it. Okay. Let's mark that off. Let's go and test AI experiments. So last month I shared that AI experiments plugin had released version 1. There's a new bunch of things that people have been working on. So there's a type ahead suggestion. This experiment explores AI-powered type ahead suggestions while writing. So we could check that out. Comment moderation assistance. I'm not going to be able to check that out unless I comment on something, but I guess I could try. Markdown feeds looks at consuming and working with markdown-based feeds using AI. The goal is to explore how content ingestion workflows so this is actually a hello world version of your post. Interesting. Okay, that's something to check out. And then there's extended AI providers. So we'll see what they've got there. It's a whole bunch of cool stuff. Ooh, MCP integration. Okay. And request logging. Okay, let's go, and now I wonder if these are all pull requests. So I can't really check these locally. Okay. So let's go through these and see how many we can get through in the next sort of 20 minutes. Type ahead suggestions. Okay. Fun. Playground links. I like playground links. Let me close that, close that, close that, close that. Okay. So settings, credentials, add an API key to one of the clients listed. Okay, so I'm going to need an API key for this. To do that, I'm going to open up one password in a separate window so that you all can't steal my keys. I'm going to use my Anthropic key. Okay, so settings, add credentials. Wonder if this stores the key. I think it just stores it in your browser. I hope so. That's the first question I have. Okay. So once that's done, settings and experiments. Playground just break. Playground 8 navigating. I wonder if it's because of Brave blocking shields and things. Let's try it again. Okay, so it doesn't seem to store it. That's great. So let's save that. So obviously, we're storing it locally. I don't want to save it. Before you experiment, you need to set. I've done that. Okay, settings have been saved. It doesn't work. Okay, I guess I'm leaving feedback. Let's scroll down here. Wonder if I need to enable. Do I need to enable something? Okay, Jeff, sorry, but I'm going to comment. I can't get my credentials to save. I think it might be a playground issue. I'm not sure. Let me comment on this. And let's go. I attempted to test this today after saving my Anthropic API key, AI credentials page, and let's make this a little bit easier. I attempted to test this today after saving my Anthropic API key and AI credential page, and then navigating to AI experiments. Following. Oops. I can't spell experiments properly the first time. Check if I go back to credentials. If I go back to credentials, the thing is there. I get back to credentials. The API is stored. Is this perhaps a playground limitation? Question mark. I'm wondering if it's got to do with like need to enable like something. Don't know. Okay. What we could do though is we could, let me check something. I don't have AI experiments installed, that's fine. I'm gonna send that post. What we could do is we could use the pull requests, we could pull those down. So let's do that. Kind of running out a little bit of time here, so I might not get through as many as I wanted to. So let's go WordPress AI. Exit out of there now. Plugins is there, get clone. There's the plugin. Has a composer and a package.json, so I'm going to guess it's going to be composer install, npm install, npm run build. That's what I thought. Okay. I do wish the plugin was called AI Experiments in the GitHub repo, but anyway, I can't be too upset. Watching dependencies installed on live stream is so much fun. You know what I wish Node would do? I wish Node would create a game that plays when you're installing dependencies. Because it often takes so while that's doing its thing, I'm going to open up GitHub Desktop because I'm terrible at pulling a PR to my local. Move that one. And a new one. No. So Studio. The content, plugins, AI. Okay. Hey, dependency installed. Yay. Okay, let's go and find type ahead experiment. There we go. Okay. So let's do another composer install npm line npm run build just to be on the safe side. That's going to take forever. Okay. Okay, looks like that's all fine. Let's go back to plugins. Let's activate. I'm not going to update it because we're on a PR, we're on a thing. Pop my Anthropic. Get back in there. I'm going to put Anthropic. Isn't linked to a login, that's fine. I'm going to add my OpenAI one as well, just to be on the safe side. Okay, go away one password. And experiments. Type ahead. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what happens. So we'll go to post. And I create a post. And let's call it post about the WordPress abilities API. Okay, and let's generate a title for that. Okay, you need content. All right, never mind. So let's see if something does something here. The WordPress abilities API. doing anything. Ah, ooh, stuff. Provides a powerful way to manage user roles and capabilities. No. Okay, that's good but funny. It's good because it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. It's funny because it doesn't. The model obviously has no context about the abilities API, which is normal because the abilities API is so new. So let's do this. Let's say the WordPress REST API, because that there'll be information. It's a powerful tool for developers to interact with the data stored on websites, enabling seamless integration and flexibility. I mean, that's pretty AI generated, but it's not bad. It allows for creating, reading, updating, and deleting content programmatically. True. Also true. Let's see what it does here. Let's see if it does something here. Okay, it looks like you have to type. So let's say, okay, let's leave this out. And then let's say, well, the REST API is enabled by default on core post types. Let's see if I can guess what I'm about to say, or what I want to say. Custom endpoints can be added to extend this functionality further. No, it is also possible to enable it for custom post types and text elements. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Expanding its usability across various platforms. Given the following example, registering custom post type. Let's see if it can generate code. I want to see if it generates code. No, it can't generate code. Okay, that's fine. Let's generate some code quickly. Register custom book. Post type. Okay, here we go. It's fine, so we'll just use this. No. Okay. Okay. REST API. No. REST API endpoints on this post type. Nope. This post type only requires, let's see if I can figure that out. The addition of a simple parameter in this registration function. Can you tell me which parameter, chatbot? To the args array, okay, which parameter? Yeah, it can't, okay. So let's say the parameter is, come on, REST API enabled true. Fail! Show in REST, no. Show in REST. Okay. All right, that's fine. Look, it's an experiment. As Carolina says, maybe we won't type in the code block. Sure, totally get that. Which must be set to true. This makes the custom post type accessible via the REST API. Yeah, that's true. I'm just repeating myself here. Maybe their suggested name would have been more logical. Maybe. I would have assumed that the bot would be trained on. You know what would be interesting? is to use my local model provider thingy and hook it up with a model that is designed for coding, and see whether that could do a better job. Because right now I'm just using whatever the default Anthropic and OpenAI models are on my account, which might just be something like Claude Sonnet and GPT-4 or something. So experimentation is definitely needed. Look, it works. It doesn't work as well as when I'm using things like Perplexity or like actual chatbots, but it works. It's in WordPress, it works. Let's see what title it generates based on that content. Just for fun. Yeah, unlocking WordPress, enabling REST API with custom post types, economies. Yeah, I mean that's all pretty standard. It's a good place to start. So it's definitely something that can help you if you're blogging to come up with words if you struggle to blog. I kind of think that's where all this stuff is going. It's a support, it's an assistant, and that's kind of how I frame it all the time. OpenClaw is a great example. Is use it as an assistant. Don't allow it full access to all the things. Give it limited access to certain things that are boring to you and let it do that. I keep coming back around to that sort of mindset around this. It is something that can support your work, but you still need to have an active brain that knows what's going on to be able to do the hard work. Now, that having been said, I was able to use Copilot in PHP Storm to generate the code. The code was simple enough that I was happy with it. Pretty sure this will work if I just enable it. So for anything that is known information, all good. I had a fun thing the other day. Let's do this. Where I just want to go since the formation of the WordPress core AI team in June of 2023. So that gives you an idea of how old the data is that this model is using. We all know that the WordPress core AI team was formed in 2025, but it knows it only goes as far back as 2023. So you would need to check what model you're using, how up to date it is, those kind of things. I would love to be able to check whether my model provider can support AI experiment stuff. I don't think it can. Didn't the last time I checked it. But the core functionality works. It's doing what it needs to do. So play around with it. Go and check out the call for testing. I'm going to wait and see if Jeff says anything about the whole... I'm also going to ask the question. Follow-up question. I assume the API keys are stored anywhere other than the local playground browser instance. Just because I think it would be good to say that in the post personally. Okay, so if you want to play around with those, Carolina says the way it adds a full sentence after a few seconds is a bit startling. It's not as smooth as autocomplete I'm used to when coding. Exactly. And what's interesting about it is when I use writing tools, I never use it for autocomplete. I use writing tools to generate paragraphs, and then I edit them and rewrite them and restructure them. But they give me a good base to start with. So I wouldn't mind spending a bit of time testing all these things at some point. I might even do that over the course of the next few weeks, try and give as much feedback as I can. It would be cool if the Playground stuff was fixed, and then I could test it in Playground. I don't have to set it up on my local and pull down PRs and all that kind of thing. But I do think it's worth testing and sharing feedback, because these are the kind of things that might eventually end up in core, or might eventually end up being enabled somewhere, or something you can add to your experience. So test them now and give feedback, because it'll help us improve or not improve or leave these things out or whatever. Yeah. that's kind of exciting. I would love to test more of these, but I really couldn't be bothered with pulling down PR, so I'm not going to worry about that now. Okay, that is everything I have on my list for today. And we've gone just over an hour, and I usually start getting a bit tired of streaming after about an hour. So that's where I'm going to call it for today, folks. I will post the video to YouTube as normal. I'll post the edited version on Wednesday. I'll upload all the links for the edited version on Wednesday if you want all of these links. So go to my YouTube channel if you want to see the short version of this later on. But I have shared all the links in the chat if you want to grab them there. Thank you so much for watching. AJ and Carolina, thank you for engaging. And I will see you around social media and all those other places. Have a good weekend. Bye.